is clear. More needs to be done to make this intersection safer for our veterans and our families who come to pay respects to our fallen heroes. I am committed to working with the veteran community to ensure meaningful changes are made. That is why each of you being here is so important.
I'm going to provide a quick overview of the draft traffic analysis and the safety study and listen to public comments on the study, the findings, and the potential safety enhancements. VA hired Larson Design Group, a New York State licensed traffic engineering firm not associated with previous evaluations, to conduct a separate and independent traffic analysis after the public raised concerns regarding the safety of the intersection. Larson Design Group collected data at the intersection of State Route 77 and Indian Falls Road, as well as detailing the ingress and egress patterns at the cemetery entrance. New traffic data was collected on March 17th and March 19th at the intersection of Route 77 and Indian Falls Road, as well as the entrance to the cemetery. Data collected included traffic volume, speed, direction, movement, as in which direction they turn, the time of day as well as existing roadway conditions, intersection conditions, and visibility, such as the line of sight or how far you can see. Study findings. Draft study concludes that the intersection meets NISDOT standards for sight distances and the U.S. Federal Highways Administration Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. This is the standard used by roadway managers nationwide to install and maintain traffic control devices on all public streets, highways, bikeways, and private roads open to the public. The traffic study concurs with previous traffic studies and analysis conducted for VA and by NISDOT 2015, 2016, and 2020. The draft study concurs that the speed limit reductions will not enhance the safety at the intersection, and it identifies that the level of service for the intersection is level of service A, which is the best performance rating. The 2022 data and modeling for 24 and 32 also identified minimal to no delay. To be clear, the level of service is how long you wait to enter and go through an intersection. The draft traffic studies finding that queuing and delays are no issue at the intersection of State Route 77 and Indian Falls Road. It finds that the sight distances at the State Route 77 and Indian Falls Road intersection were greater than design criteria, concluding sight distances do not propose a safety issue for traffic turning off Indian Falls Road. It concludes neither an all-way stop or a traffic signal are required for the applicable criteria of MUTCD. It finds the expected crash frequency not significantly higher than the predicted crash frequency. Therefore, safety performance is consistent with what is expected at this intersection. Since November 2020, when the cemetery opened, the crash frequency incident rate did not increase. This slide shows the existing signage and traffic controls at the site as we are right now. As you can see, item 1 is if you're on Indian Falls Road, whether eastbound or westbound, there is a stop sign which says cross traffic does not stop. Item 2 is on State Route 77, northbound and southbound, and it's to depict that there is an intersection ahead. And then item 3 is the white line in the road, which is also known as a stop bar. Just to give you a heads up, traffic counts. Northbound, we're looking between 3,000 and 3,200 trips per day, traveling at about 60 to 61 miles an hour. Southbound, looking between 34 and 3,600, traveling at about 52 miles an hour. Indian Falls Road eastbound, about 270 trips, and westbound, about 600 trips. Here we have the 10-year crash data. We actually have 10 years and 3 months. That was the total volume of information that was recorded. As you can see, we go back from 2012 all the way to present date. Of the 2 accidents which did occur in 2020 when the cemetery opened, one was on July 6th, and the second was on December 26th due to snow and unsafe traveling speeds. The study finds that the expected crash frequency is not significantly higher than predicted crash frequency. Therefore, the safety and performance of the intersection is consistent with what is expected for this type of intersection. This was also supported by a NISDOT letter in July of 2020, where NISDOT stated a 6-year, 6-month crash history was compiled. This allowed a link to the crash history of a previous study and to evaluate the intersection's modifications that were installed in 2013. Since the enhancements were installed, crashes have declined 35% to an average of 2.5 per year. When compared to similar locations in the state, this number of crashes would not be considered unusual. In the summer of 2020, NISDOT responded to a VA request. NISDOT performed a site visit and evaluated the roadway characteristics and vehicle speeds by use of radar. It coordinated with the New York State Police traffic supervisor. Based on that data reviewed by the New York State Police, NISDOT determined the reduction in the speed limit on Route 77 was not warranted. The MUTCD, Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices criteria, for an all-way stop requires approximately equal amounts of traffic in both directions. Therefore, the intersection did not meet the MUTCD criteria in March of 2020 and still does not meet that criteria today as of March of 22. Just to reemphasize these findings, the study, along with the 2 previous studies, including NISDOT, show that the existing intersection meets FHWA, or Federal Highway Administration Design Standards, MUTCD. That being said, the VA has requested Larson to identify potential safety enhancements which go above and beyond the standard. And as part of the study and draft version process, VA is taking those comments seriously into consideration with our discussions with NISDOT. These are the potential enhancements Larson Design Group identified in the study. I'm going to walk through each one of them, and then I'm going to discuss the crash modification factors. Eliminate the existing departure passing zones at the Indian Falls Road intersection. Install a flashing intersection control beacon, or alternatively install sign-mounted flashing warning devices along Route 77 intersection warning and Indian Falls Road stop sign. Install rumble strips on the shoulder and center line of State Route 77. And that will assist with eliminating the existing departure and passing zone mentioned earlier. Install larger right and left stop signs with reflective posts on Indian Falls Road, including placards for cross traffic does not stop. Add stop pavement markings on Indian Falls Road. Install larger intersection signs on State Route 77. Install a roundabout at the intersection of Route 77 and Indian Falls Road. The crash modification factor is an estimate of the change in crashes expected after the implementation of a countermeasure. These items cannot be directly added together for a cumulative number. Some may ask, why do we not just install these enhancements? This study, along with the previous 2 studies, including NISDOT, shows the existing intersection meets the design standard for MUTCD.
That most funerals happen between 9 o'clock in the morning and they're done, I think, like usually 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So even if it was just flashing during those hours to make people aware as a line of vision thing, I think that's something that should be considered. But something definitely has to be done. 2 lives, 2 great men that served this country, who are coming from a funeral from another great man who served this country. Their lives matter. And
it's always the same. When you get when we're coming off of Gabby, going on Indian Falls Road, going east, the roads are at a skew there. They're not at 90 degrees, the intersection. And that was never brought up as a design, maybe a design thing you could use. Make it 90 degrees at each angle of the AV. Because when you come off Gabby, you have to lean ahead to look down, to look back up towards Brick House, up 77. And then when you come out of Indian Falls Road, it's the same thing looking north. You have to lean over, or you have to square up. You have to drive up and square up. Otherwise, you have to lean way over to look and see the oncoming traffic. That was never discussed. I don't know why they didn't even think of it. I mean, I know that would have been expensive to redesign it like that. But and the other thing was, if you come down Ledge Road, and they put the blinking yellow lights down Ledge in 77, because everybody goes to the reservation for gas. They have accidents down there. Those blinking lights you can see way down coming from the north, either way, any way. I mean, coming from the south, you're coming around that curve on 77. But when you approach the intersection, you see those lights quite a ways ahead of time. And I think that's one of the cheaper ways of doing it, the lights.
The roundabout, I feel is a bad idea. We had the same report and study done in the town of Bethany at what's known as Suicide Corner on East Road and State Road Route 20. The roundabout idea didn't fly in the town of Bethany, but the DOT put in place larger stop traffic signs on the side roads that are lit around the outside, and they made the hazards of the intersection more visible to northbound and southbound traffic, and that the eastbound traffic on Route 20 doesn't work. So the diagram on page 32, I think is a great idea. It's what we did down there. I'm also on the Bethany Volunteer Fire Department, the ambulance, and because of the increased signage and lighting at Suicide Corners has reduced the number of accidents. As long as we have the human equation in driving, it's never going to be totally eliminated. We get that, but the more you can put out there that there's a hazard for people to see, the better it'll be for them, and hopefully it will mitigate some of the risk. So the diagram on page 32 with all the extra signage, I think will be a big help. Pretty much it.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I think we need to notify people that there's a cemetery ahead. This morning I took a ride and there is a sign coming off the thruway, north-south side. It says there's a cemetery. Most of these people coming off the thruway or the truck stops don't know there's a cemetery there. So if they at least know there's one ahead, there might be a problem.
So more signage.
Just a little more notification of what it is. And we do need a slower speed zone through there.
I'm Tim Hens. I'm your county highway superintendent, county engineer. Indian Falls in 77, the county's traffic safety board has been talking about it long before the cemetery was in place. Jim Evilhair was Pembroke's representative on that board and was always very active and very vocal about the intersection. He had responded to a number of accidents there over the years, some of them fatal. So the DOT had already, prior to the cemetery, been in the process of implementing small incremental improvements, which is typical of how DOT responds to accidents by increasing signage, increasing the cross-traffic does not stop signs. I have reviewed the report as a civil engineer, professional engineer. I would say it's a very well-written report and covers a lot of bases. There has been a lot of information brought up today that I think is valuable. The age of the drivers is definitely a factor. The distraction of coming from an emotional event at the cemetery is most definitely a factor that should be considered, as well as the fact that most people coming to the cemetery are not familiar with the roads in Genesee County. And we have a number of intersections in our county that have a similar accident history and type and severity as Indian Falls in 77. And we find traditionally the accidents are people that aren't from Genesee County. They're traveling through the county. A lot of times they're going to the Indian Reservation for gas or cigarettes or other things now. It's similar at the cemetery. They're not from Genesee County, particularly they could be coming from Buffalo. A lot of the accidents that we see on Indian Falls in 77 are westbound, so there also could be a potential factor of, depending on the time of the year, whether you're getting sunshine in your eyes crossing the intersection. I think that should be considered as well. And from an engineering perspective, the contextual nature of certain intersections, which I feel 77 Indian Falls qualifies, is that there is this unconscious psychological feeling that it's a four-way stop when it's not a four-way stop. Most of the accidents, and I believe the study highlights it as well, I think over 60% of the accidents are people who literally stop at the stop sign and then pull out in front of traffic on 77 when they can clearly see it coming from both directions. So there is an unconscious psychological thing that's going on there, and it's hard to put your finger on exactly what causes that, but it's probably a number of factors playing together. I did see the solution of a roundabout in the as one of the recommended alternatives. I will tell you that they can be a lightning rod, political lightning rod, while from an engineering perspective, they are a proven, factually proven safety measure that reduces crashes by 60% and fatalities by up to 99%. They work, but they are typically unpopular in rural areas. People are generally not in favor of them. I don't know, if it's just a getting used to it, change type of thing, but they do work in a rural setting. They do allow farm traffic through them. They can be designed to allow tractor trailers through them. I personally, as a professional engineer, are in favor of them. I think it's an excellent traffic safety measure, and it allows traffic to move quicker, which I think we're all in favor of most of the time. But again, they are a political lightning rod, and people can be vocal and opposed to them, even though they do make sense. So I just wanted to get that out there. But again, I think the things to consider the most are the age, the fact that they're not from here, the contextual situation at the intersection. Those are all things that should be incorporated into the report.
The role here more for us was to really facilitate that we have the comment period from this report, and often a lot of times people miss that the period happened and input. So we wanted to get the word out. We have a venue in my role to do that, and also to make it easier for people to come here, submit their questions to us, and we will package them up and make sure they're getting in, and also follow up to make sure when that they are answered and responded to. I certainly think, hopefully being a member of Congress, that I was able to get a member from the VA to be here, and we also did end up having some questions which were answered, and I think they were very good, very thoughtful questions. People that have real experience either living right here or the highway superintendent, questions about plowing. Those are the things that somebody in Washington would not pick up, and I think that was very good. I think I would echo some of what was here. I think roundabouts really do work in a lot of places. I do have questions whether in a rural community like this, whether this would work in terms of also allowing truckers and farm equipment. I'd like to look more into that. I really hope there's a lot of comments from those farmers and truckers that have experienced that, if that really does work. And also, that's a significant cost. Is it more cost effective to have one of the lights like they do at Darien Lake that is triggered, that is flashing, a permanently flashing light, and it only changes when somebody's exiting Darien Lake? It would be the same situation, someone exiting the cemetery. I think there was also some, from the experience of the highway superintendent, the accidents they see here are usually people that are not from here, and the cemetery, great thing that we have here, but it is luring a lot more people who are not from here and not familiar with these roads. So I just hope that things like placing a light is not just dictated by just raw numbers, that those things are taken into consideration.